I'd like to welcome you to this special City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. We will open the meeting with a roll call, Michelle.
Mayor Milan.
I'm present in Clawson, Michigan.
Councilmember Moffitt.
Here in Clawson, Michigan.
Councilmember Phillips.
Here in Clawson.
Councilmember Sampson.
Here in Clawson.
Great. Now, when looking at the agenda for this evening, we forgot to put in the very important part of public discussion. So I'd like to see if anyone would like to entertain a motion to allow for public discussion for items on this agenda.
I move that we include, we amend the agenda to include public discussion for items on the agenda.
I'll support that.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Councilmember Moffitt.
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes. So with that, Mike, you're running the meeting, so you can give people the instructions on how they may participate at this point with their questions, concerns.
Sure. There's if you're on the chat right now, you can raise your hand virtually, or you can unmute yourself. I will start with the first one I see, which is from Susan E. Phillips. She's stating she would like to speak. So Susan, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make a comment about the proposed rescission. This is based upon a case that was heard in January 2002. The nature of the action is a city council member who during a city council meeting announced her formal resignation from the council effective immediately, and who then left the meeting, but who later unsuccessfully sought to withdraw the resignation, brought a quo warranto action against the council and the person who was subsequently selected by the council to fill the position. The plaintiff also sought declaratory and injunctive relief. The plaintiff alleged that her formal oral resignation was not effective prior to her attempt to withdraw the resignation because the council never formally accepted the resignation. And this was in a superior court. I believe all of you have received the this information in an email from me, so I won't go into all the details. The public official's resignation from office becomes final, thereby creating a vacancy and preventing the official from withdrawing the resignation on the effective date of the resignation. Finality is not dependent on whether the resignation has been accepted by the appropriate governing body. So that was just something I wanted to throw into the discussion as a previously previous hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening?
Again, I don't see any virtual waving of hands. It's time. I don't see any more chat. If anyone would like to unmute themselves and speak at this time, so choose, state your name. Anyone? There is a phone attendee. Okay. Is it *6? I don't see any more. The phone attendee is not making any motion. 210. So I guess seeing none, we can move on, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to the reason we're here this evening. We're here tonight to potentially make a motion to authorize the city attorney to secure a legal opinion from an independent law firm with respect to the rescission of the resignation of Reese Scripture and its effects on the composition of the Clawson City Council. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. Motion to authorize the city attorney to secure a legal opinion from an independent law firm with respect to the recession of resignation of Reese Scripture and its effect on the composition of the Clawson City Council.
I'll second that.
Wonderful. Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I got some discussion. It's more of a question for our city attorney. How do we make sure that a legal opinion that we get is reliable and that the attorney that is issuing it is not being influenced in any way by another source?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Obviously, this, I'm happy to address that question, Councilmember Sampson. Just to give you a little bit of background, most of us here, obviously visually represented, do know the background, and hopefully all the community does as well. But this came as a result of, this meeting is a result of Reese Scripture resigned on prior occasion a couple of weeks ago. In the interim, she also submitted a letter rescinding her resignation effective immediately. Obviously, in the interim, some actions have taken place. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Milan was sworn in as mayor administratively. A council meeting occurred in the meantime. Decisions were made. So obviously, there's an issue, a legal issue that needs to be determined here. Ordinarily, and obviously upon realizing what occurred here, my first letter to all members of council was, I'm going to get right into it, delve into the research and come up with an opinion for you so that we could move quickly on account of obviously the implications of those two letters and those actions. Upon, as I indicated on my letter that I've since submitted to council, there's an inherent conflict of interest in having our office render this opinion, and as such, we must recuse ourselves. And the briefest explanation with respect to that, not to go over my letter ad nauseum, but the briefest explanation is obviously we represent all of City Council. By the very nature of this determination, the way it's posited, just naturally so. It would mean that that legal opinion will be outcome determinative. As such, that legal opinion will determine the composition of council, and it's either that Paula Milan is the mayor of the city of Clawson, and the resignation by Reese Scripture was effective immediately and finalized, or the rescinding of the resignation basically renders Reese Scripture be the mayor of the city. That contradiction within the council would, the opinion would seek to address, by definition, would create a conflict of interest for our office, which represents all of council. As such, I thought it incumbent to recommend to council to have to make a determination and to give administration leave to be able to secure an independent legal opinion. Now, to address your question, Councilmember Sampson, I'll tell you what I did factually, and then I'll address your issue and your question. And it's a valid question. It's a concern. Obviously, we want to be able to rely on this opinion that we seek, because it will be outcome determinative one way or another, at least for a period of time. If there's litigation down the road, that litigation would overcome. But I went and looked, ahead of tonight's meeting. I started making calls initially to members of, like attorneys that represent municipalities around us. And around us, I tried to create some sort of a buffer in order to sort of deal with that very issue, so that there would be no claim that the person or the law firm that would issue such an opinion would have any sort of, point of connection with our city, or have any point of undue influence, or whatever the case may be. I realized early into looking into these, early into my phone calls and contacts that, most city attorneys, particularly the attorneys that are, employed directly for a municipality, obviously they're tied, they wouldn't be able to issue such an opinion. And then what I found myself, realizing pretty quickly is that even those who have, contracts with various municipalities, didn't seem to be all too willing to extend their opinions on an issue such as this. So then I extended my search, so to speak, to find, some competent attorneys that, people I would think would be competent to issue such an opinion. And it's not a, area of law that is just, it's not a specialty area of law. It's something that any attorney, it doesn't require necessarily a municipal attorney, it requires somebody to be able to do a couple hours worth of research and call balls and strikes for us. It's an important decision, particularly for all of us here in Clawson, but any attorney out there practicing this great state of ours will be able to sit down and do the job. I've located 3 such attorneys to be able to offer to council. The names won't mean anything to you. I know them. I have no connection to them per se. I do it in the sense that I know them and I know them to be competent attorneys. The names won't mean anything to you. I imagine you can pick sort of out of the hat once I give you those 3 names, or council could simply make its own determination altogether to seek its own counsel however it pleases. I just thought it would be incumbent upon me or us to be able to provide you with some option should you choose to go that way. And to like for the last part of it, to address your question, how do we protect ourselves? I think again this is an important issue to all of us. But when it comes to the opinion that will come from whatever source, whatever law firm we go to, I think nobody's going to compromise their integrity to be able to decide this issue for us, in a way that it isn't direct and uncompromised. So I think even though I obviously was concerned with that very notion, which is why I'm giving you this long spiel about going above and beyond sort of our geographic area and those municipalities, those areas around us. I think, ultimately speaking, I think of myself and my practice and the fact I'm an attorney. I think of that as, being an attorney is the privilege and honor of my life. And I think most, if not all, attorneys think that way about their craft, as we all do about whatever our professions are. So I think ultimately that is not going to be our concern. The 3 names, and I indicated to you already that you would be able to go any direction you choose. This council can make whatever determination. I'm just offering you one avenue for making that choice. Since I'm in the area, so to speak, I'm an attorney and I deal with attorneys. The 3 individuals that or law firms that contacted are a retired magistrate from the city of Troy, Clem Waldman, and I figured with respect to him, he's retired above and beyond, has no contact with this city, and he's there's some insulation in that regard. I contacted the law firm of Walton & Scally. They're out of Macomb County in Utica. And I figured geographically speaking, there's some distance there. And then the last law firm is the Gonzalez law firm. I think they're technically out of Bloomfield Hills as far as an address, but the predominant amount of work that they do is out of Wayne County. And again, I thought geographic location would keep it away from our sort of our area. So those were the 3 names that I came up with just to give you an option. Again, your choice. And I think whatever fashion you opt to go, this council opts to go, I think the quality of decision, I think will be there, no matter where we get it from. I don't think I will have any concerns in that regard. But ultimately speaking, we need some speed with respect to that. And the request and the reason for having this meeting is to make sure that we get an opinion ahead of the next council meeting, which is on Tuesday.
Councilwoman Moffitt?
Just a question. What do you anticipate the cost of all this is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict in many ways, but I imagine, like current rates, for attorneys around $300 an hour or so. And I imagine, this, as an issue, the factual scenario that we have, I would prepare, and actually, thank you for asking this question. I would prepare a letter for whatever attorney council chooses that say, this is what transpired factually by way of almost bullet points. Resignation letter, meeting of council, decisions made during the meeting, rescinding a resignation, all that, and say, please issue, a legal opinion with respect to the ramifications of these decisions and who is our fair mayor in this fair city. I imagine that, and it's hard to calculate how many hours is there, but, I did the research for my own benefit, even though I'm sort of playing coy, unfortunately, by operation of law and saying, I know the answer, according to me, but I can't tell you the answer. It took me a couple hours. So I'd say, to be, that's being under inclusive, to be over inclusive 4, 5, something like that. So I imagine around $1,000 plus or minus.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Phillips, do you have any questions for Ronis or any comments?
Not really a question, it's more of a comment. I'm fully supportive of doing this because we all know everything that we do is going to be a 2-2 vote for a while. And I think it's imperative that we get this off the table one way or the other and have an impartial party look at it, resolve it, and we can all move on whichever way it ends. That's it.
Okay. I'd like to, is it possible, Mr. Newshine, that you give us a brief synopsis of what the issues are here so that you can explain to people, because some people think it's easy one way and other people think it's easy another without rendering a decision. You're pretty good at staying neutral. So if you could just give a little bit of a picture for everyone of what the concerns are here and why we can't just make a decision on our own outside of you making it for us and have this thing be over with.
Sure, happy to do so. And it's, and it's sort of pardon the legal dance for obvious reasons because of the recusal. So Mayor Scripture issued her resignation letter. She resigned, first and foremost, she resigned during the meeting a couple of meetings ago. And sorry, I don't have the dates in front of me, so I couldn't tell you specific dates, but she resigned at the beginning of a meeting. She had her communication, she had her speech in front of council at the beginning of the meeting, said I resigned, effective immediately, turned over the meeting over to Mayor Milan. And subsequently, former Mayor Scripture also issued sent a letter with the same contents, I believe, the speech that she made at during the council meeting. She included that in a letter and submitted it to the city, I believe, to all council members, city manager, and myself, and for the benefit of the public. That letter was included in the council's agenda packet as part of the minutes at the next meeting of council. At the next meeting of council, Mayor Milan, prior to it, administratively was sworn in by the clerk, by the city clerk as mayor, and conducted that meeting. Council made all the decisions that council ordinarily makes in such a voting meeting, regularly scheduled meeting. Among others, the minutes where the letter of resignation was included were voted upon, and that item was motioned up as council acts by way of motion, by way of resolution. The item was motioned up and voted upon. So subsequent to that, Mayor Scripture issued her a letter, sent a letter again to all members of council, city manager, and myself, indicating that she rescinded her resignation effective immediately. There's an attorney general opinion from some time ago, from 1986, and obviously relevant in case law that has ensued in the meantime. It's not an issue of first impression. So there's the Attorney General opinion from 1986 speaks about an issue, even though the factual scenario is not, obviously is not identical. It's similar enough to be able to be a baseline for the analysis. In that opinion, among others, the concepts that the Attorney General speaks of is that, the Bay City, which was the subject city for the opinion, a member of council had resigned in Bay City, issued the resignation effective at some other date. Subsequently, prior to that date, issued a rescinding of the resignation. The question was, what happened? Much like in our scenario. The Attorney General opined, among others, that basically there were two concepts that he needed to analyze. The first one being, did council accept the resignation? Was there a motion, meaning, as council always acts by way of resolution, by way of motion? Was there a motion to accept the resignation was the first portion of it. And the second portion of the Attorney General's analysis was, or whether the seat was filled. Similarly here, so those are the legal concepts at play. And the answers to those legal concepts is exactly what we seek to address here. And this is why this is not simple. Counsel, as part of the analysis I imagine that's going to happen is the attorney will make, will opine on the issue of counsel not having accepted their resignation, fully on account of the vote, but having taken actions such as motioning on the minutes and approving those minutes where the letter of resignation was included. Does that, where does that fall? How does that play? What is the legal ramifications of the ramification of that particular action, as well as the fact that obviously council moved on with its, agenda, making motions. Mayor Milan, obviously led the meeting, took the normal course of actions that council would take on behalf of the city. Those determinations that is the determination that we need to make. And it is, it's a close issue, I'd imagine. So we need an independent opinion. Our office having to be recused because we must, unfortunately. An opinion is necessary. It needs to come from the outside. It is going to be a close. Somebody's going to have to call balls and strikes. And I imagine and of course, and it may well not be the end of the conversation. If either side, no matter what that opinion is, obviously legal rights will be affected in the interim period, but they will not be affected until and unless a court of law issues an opinion ultimately, which may well be the case if any one side which gets an opinion disfavorable to their position may challenge ultimately. So I think those are the concepts at play here. And I think it's an important issue. It's it's a very important issue. I think in my mind, it's one of the most, for us as attorneys, I imagine any attorney would agree it's probably the most interesting issue that I've dealt with in my career. So I think it's important. We need to act quickly before Tuesday's meeting so that nothing is left sort of hanging.
Thank you. Councilwoman Moffitt?
So should we modify the motion to throw a name out there and that's the way to move forward, or is that a separate motion? The name tonight, I guess, is where I'm going.
Yeah, I imagine, I think you're going to end up making three motions. So I say vote for the concept first. If there's agreement on the concept of going out there, to give the authority to get, a legal opinion, and maybe there's some discussion needs to occur now at this point as to whether that makes sense. What I've presented to you makes sense, that you go with one of these individuals that I've provided, or whether there's some other path, whatever council may choose. But have some discussion, and then the way I would do it is have a motion, approve the concept, whatever that may be, and then after that is you move, and you can literally. My thought is you could put like I said, the names won't mean anything to you. It just you pick randomly, and there's some to address Council Member Sampson's question from earlier. That sort of addresses that. The randomness factor addresses perhaps a portion of this concern.
So we vote after discussion. We vote on the motion was made. I second it to secure. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Then roll call, blah blah blah. Then a motion to turn it over to whoever. Fred, whatever, and then roll call, and then that's all we have to decide today.
Yeah, you can decide whatever you wish. Obviously, it's your meeting. But this is obviously what was on the notice as far as we're concerned.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Sampson.
Since you went into this farther than I thought you were going to go to,
I did.
With the absence, with Mayor Scripture resigning, immediately Mayor Pro Tem takes over. That worked out good. The mayor was sworn in as a mayor without active council, and council acts as a body, not individuals. So my question would be, should have council voted on permanently changing the mayor from pro tem to mayor without an action by the council? We could all had input into it at that moment. that may be more items that we never had a chance to vote on, actually moving the mayor pro tem up to mayor. It was done behind the scenes. It should have been the next council meeting, we vote on moving the mayor pro tem to mayor and then voting on a new mayor pro tem. But the way it was done, it was all done in secrecy, and we found out that she was permanently made mayor. So it should have been an act of council because we're a body, not an individual. True?
So the question, you know, I'll leave the argument portion of your question and statement aside, because obviously it would call for me to make a determination with respect to the validity of it, and that's precisely what I cannot and must not do.
I respect that.
But you know, I think with respect, factually speaking, yes, the swearing in of Mayor Milan was done administratively. It was an administrative action, not a council action.
But not in secrecy, and not for any reason to make it seem in secret. Councilmember Moffitt?
I think if you go back and watch the meeting in which Reese Scripture resigned, towards the end of the meeting, Kathy Phillips asked specifically the question of Rennis, that so the mayor pro tem becomes the mayor now, to which he answered, yes, that's how it works. So there was no secret discussion. There was a very open discussion on record about how all of that transpired. It is towards the end of the meeting. And like I said, Councilmember Phillips was the one who raised the question. We had a discussion about it. So there was no secrecy. There was no nefarious intent. It was done very open and the way it's supposed to transpire.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, then we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. If there's no more discussion regarding this, then we'll take Attorney Newshi's recommendation and vote on this measure, and then come back and vote on how he will proceed, with whom he shall proceed. So roll call, please, Michelle.
Can I have the motion repeated, please?
The motion was to authorize the city attorney to secure a legal opinion from an independent law firm with respect to the rescission of the resignation of Reese Scripture and its effects on the composition of the Clawson City Council.
Thank you.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, that will pass. We've given the attorney authorization to proceed. Now let us fine tune how we will have him proceed. Would anyone like to make him, what would you suggest?
You know, like again, and it's somewhat strange, but such is the reason for being here. I'm going to offer the three names and the three law firms, individuals that I spoke with, attorneys I spoke with, are the following. If Michelle could, if the clerk could, you know, keep those names. Clement Waldman, retired magistrate out of Troy, law firm of Walton and Scally, Utica, Michigan, and Gonzalez law firm, Bloomfield Hills. I would, you know, entirely your choice as to whether you proceed with one of those or another. I said, you know, it's sort of like, you know, three names out of the hat that don't necessarily make sense, but I would recommend one of those three. You can make, any one of you can make such a motion, I imagine, and we go that route.
I'll make
Kathy,
a
you
motion.
had your hand up. Hold on, please, Councilmember Sampson. Kathy's wanting to.
I wanted to make a motion that we suggest Mr. Waldman, Magistrate Waldman. My feeling, well, I won't go into my feeling until we have discussion. I would make a motion that we start with him.
Which one, Kathy?
The retired magistrate, Mr. Waldman.
I'll second that. A magistrate would be great.
Okay, Kathy, would you have any comments?
My reasoning behind that is, maybe it's a stupid reason, but it's my reason, is that there's not a law firm sitting behind him. He has nothing to win or lose. He's doing it just for the sake of doing it. And I think being a magistrate does give him a little bit of an edge, because he is used to seeing, making those judgments.
Thank you. Councilmember Sampson, you had
I would only reiterate what she just said. I think that a magistrate, he's done it before. He's looked at opinions. He makes calls on a lot of things. So I think he'd be probably pretty good at it.
Councilwoman Moffat, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I have no concerns. As long as we pick someone to move forward, I'm fine.
My question is, should we have a backup just in case, so that for the process, just in case he's unavailable or unwilling, we have number 2 and number 3 so that the process will just flow, because we're kind of on a time crunch here.
Actually, I didn't think about that, and you're absolutely right. Just in case, I don't imagine anything happening, but Magistrate Waldman is also like 84 years old. So you never know. But yeah, I would appreciate it. That'd be great.
Okay, I think it was your motion. Do you mind?
I'll amend my motion to include that the other 2 names will be kept as backup in the order that they were given to us.
I'll support that too.
Great. Go ahead, Councilwoman Moffat.
So I'm fine with that, but I would like Councilmember Phillips to consider amending her motion to some extent to acknowledge that win, place, or show, the decision of the one person that we assign it to will be the end of story. That we will accept the decision as delivered to us and move forward either way, all parties. We've seen in the past where we've said, okay, someone go make a decision, and then when the decision's not what we like, we hear, there's kicking and screaming. And so I guess I want us all to say, when place or show, we are going to accept the decision of this outside counsel person, magistrate, as final and move forward with whatever they render, united as a team.
Okay, Michelle. I'm going to add to my motion. Whatever the outcome of the decision, so be it.
Would someone like to second that, or do we need another second? We do need another second.
I'll second it if we need another second.
Okay.
And by way of discussion, I'll just reiterate that my vote on this is my acceptance of all that has been said.
What?
Oh. Sorry, I was on mute. I'm just saying that by the manner in which we vote on that motion, in my mind, binds us to what you amended it to be.
Binds us to the outcome. Okay, I didn't catch it.
There's no more discussion. Let's have a roll call vote, Michelle.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffat?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, Mr. Newshai, we've approved for you to go ahead and secure an outside attorney to render a decision given the facts that have occurred. You're going to contact number 1, Mr.
Clement Waldman.
Thank you. I have it written down, but I can't read my writing. Mr. Clement Waldman. And then the other 2 in order, Walton and Gonzalez, right? So once that is done and you receive your information, what will the next process be for us? Like, how will we receive the determination, and where do we go kind of from here?
I will prepare a letter that I will share with council, obviously, and the city manager. that I will direct retired magistrate Waldman to issue an opinion based on the facts as they transpired from the letter of resignation to today, and ask him to issue an opinion, pursuant to that question that your first motion authorized, which is, an opinion with respect to the rescission of the resignation of Reese Scripture and its effects on the composition of the Clawson City Council. And what we're going to get, at that point, my duty will will cease. I will not involve myself in any way, shape, or form. Magistrate Waldman will issue his opinion, and I will direct him in the letter that I present to him. I will direct him to submit same to the city manager so that it may be added to the agenda for our next council meeting. I'll urge him to do so before Tuesday. I'll say prior to Tuesday noon, we need to have it, is basically what I'll say.
Okay, Kathy, something?
Excuse me. In regards to us filling the spot that's vacant, am I correct in saying that we have 30 days from the resignation? So if this takes us past 30 days, what does that do to us?
Charter does say, but I think June 1st is still within the 30 days. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think, I became an attorney because math is not my strong suit, but I think we're still so I think, your question would really be a doozy if we weren't within 30 days because it's a charter deadline. But thankfully we are within those 30 days. So if the opinion comes back and it says resignation in effect, Mayor Milan is the mayor of the city of Clawson, we have a vacancy, come prepared for the June 1st meeting with your choices and to be able to vote, much like you set and decided at the last council meeting.
Can you let Mr. Waldman know we are up against a time crunch?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will inform him that his opinion needs to be, in the city manager as soon as possible and no later than that June 1st at noon.
Just for math purposes, so May 4th was the date of the meeting in which her resignation was tendered. So theoretically, well, and there's 31 days in May, right? So theoretically, if we had to, we could meet on Wednesday because we had set the deadline of the 28th for all the applications to be in. So if we had to have a special meeting, the next day or whatever, we would be able to do so.
Thank you.
Hey.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I think, would anyone like to second that?
I'll second it.
Good idea. Michelle, would you like to take our vote?
Here, Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
So we'll
Thank you, everyone.
At 7:30.
Yep, just try to jump on a little bit before so Ken can add you in. But yeah, you got a little break here.
Great.
Before
Thanks so much.
7, Mike, when were we supposed to jump on? Are we supposed to jump on before the planning commission starts?
You could, and then just let it just sit there.
Okay.
Yeah, and just that would probably be a better approach. Just kind of turn your camera off while the planning commission is meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have to be there till 7:30, right?
You don't have to start to actually be, but you can join in earlier.
Okay. All right, bye all.
Bye.